Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Unboxed. Today's question, content versus process. Which one is better? Stay tuned as we unbox that answer.
I'm Dr. Robert Davis, family life educator and relationship coach, and welcome to Unboxed, a frank and straightforward conversation about relationships. We're going to talk about family, church, workplace, and all other types of relationships. Join me for the next few moments as we unbox the power and potential of relationships and help you to live your best life.
Hello again, everyone. I'm Dr. Robert Davis, and I want to welcome you to Unbox, where we address and unbox all types of relationships, workplace relationships, family relationships, church relationships, you name it. We want to unbox the power and the potential of all relationships. And for the last two nights, I have been talking about how we identify the process of what's going on in a relationship. And we've been using the various questions that have been coming in. So before I even jump into tonight's presentation, let me encourage you to like, subscribe, and share. Do me another favor, make sure that you look in the description and see ways that you can support. And if you have a question that you would like to answer, remember, we always make sure that the questions are shared anonymously. So you can ask your question by emailing us at the email address on your screen, or you can direct message us on Facebook. Or, of course, you can visit our website. The email address is on the screen as well. I mean, the website address is on the screen as well. And you can fill out the form and submit your question. We want to answer your relationship questions. And I'm not just talking about romantic relationships or marriage relationships. Any type of relationship questions, we would love to answer them. Okay, let's go ahead and jump into this. We've been talking about content versus process. And I thought that this was important to address because one of the things that I have been sharing with you is how we move into a thinking space. We move into a thinking space. What do you mean by move into a thinking space? Well, what I mean by that is when we are trying to be emotionally mature, the best way to do that is to be more thoughtful and intentional in our thinking, so that we're not just reacting and responding to what's going on, but that we are, in control of our own actions and behaviors, etc. And we're not saying things like, "Well, you made me do it," because we take ownership of our behaviors and our actions. So with that being said, I've been sharing with you that one of the ways to get into a thinking place is by being clear about the specifics of what has transpired. Going into the how things were said, all of those, and trying to be as clear and to be as concise and to be as accurate as possible about what is transpiring. So that's the content. But I think it's important now to explain that we don't want to get bogged down in the content. That is just a kind of a way to guide us. Our main destination is process. Now, when family members, and this is what about process, when family members can accurately observe what is going on in the family, as well as the part that they play, or when anyone can accurately observe what is going on in a relationship dynamic, as well as the part that they play, when they can begin to think and to figure out how to raise their maturity, emotional maturity, their spiritual maturity, when they can think about how to raise their maturity to another level, they literally will be able to impact the entire relationship dynamic. You change that one variable and all the other variables will change as well. So as I just shared with you, content versus process. Content is the facts of how situations unfold. The person was wearing a blue shirt. They walked in through that particular door, kind of like a courtroom. Think about content as the type of questions that would be asked someone if they were on a stand. And what time of the day was it? Do you remember what the weather was? And when he or she walked into the room, what was the first thing that he or she said? Did he or she move to the left or move to the right? Those are content questions where you're really getting into, some of the factual things. And it's good to be clear about facts because you do want your mind to be as accurate. But the change that we're talking about with family takes place when we understand the process of what's going on in the relationship. Process is what's going on in the entire system. Being able to raise above just the factual things and to understand what's going on, taking a 30,000-foot view so you can see the mechanisms. And let me share to you, you're not just mechanism, you can see the entire working of the system, not just individual parts. So let me give you an example about content and process. Content says, I pressed the gas pedal and the car accelerated. That is a factual statement. I pressed the gas pedal, the car accelerated. That's content. Process is when I pressed the gas pedal, the throttle opened, allowing more fuel to enter the engine. As the engine had more fuel, and I'm not a mechanic, so I'm going to stop right there. But then you begin to describe how each part played off of another, how the spark plugs responded to the throttle opening, how the engine responded to the acceleration in the gas, how each part played its part in the system. You know, when you see those clocks, those old big wooden clocks, they have all of these wheels and gadgets inside of them, and each wheel intersects with another wheel. Think about that as a system. How does each part affect, intersect, respond, and react to the other part? So let me give you an example, and I'm going to give you some process questions. So I'm going to put you on the stand. I'm going to put someone on the stand. I'm going to put a father on the stand tonight, and I'm going to ask the father process questions, not content questions. Okay. So a father may say that his wife is too lenient with their child. That's the challenge that the father has. She's just too lenient. She lets them get away with everything, blah, 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 blah. So here are some process questions. I'm going to put them up on the screen for you. A good process question would be, when do you observe your wife being too lenient with the child or with the children? When do you observe that? Another one would be how is she too lenient with the child? Now we're getting into the process. How is she too lenient? When do you observe her being too lenient with the child? Here's a good process question. How does the child respond or react when the mother is too lenient? So now we're starting to see. Here's another good one. How does the child respond or react when the mother, and this one's not going to be on the screen, but I'm going to share with you anyway. How does the child respond or react when the mother holds firm and doesn't respond or behave too lenient as you interpret being too lenient? You see, now we're starting to see how each person in this system is playing and the role that they're playing to perpetuate the system. Here's another one. How do you feel when your wife is too lenient? What do you do when you believe that your wife is too lenient? So process. How do you feel? And then how do you respond to how you're feeling? We haven't gotten to all the questions. Was your wife wearing high heels? This, that, and the other, this just does, you think that she likes you and all of this stuff? No, we're going now about, you believe that your wife is too lenient. Here is what's going on in the system as she is too lenient and you think that she's being too lenient. And this is how you respond. This is the part that the child plays when the mother is being too lenient or when the mother doesn't play into the leniency or whatever it may be. So what do you do when you believe that your wife is too lenient? When do you express your frustrations with your wife being too lenient? When do you express it? You see, now we're getting into, again, this process thing. How does the child respond? And let's say that the father says, well, or you were to say, well, the way that I express it is when I think that she's being too lenient and letting them getting away with breaking the rules that we've established for them, then I will go in and I'll say, you know what? You're still grounded. I don't care what your mother says. You're going to be grounded. You see now, mother's too lenient. Child responds a particular way. Father responds a particular way. And we're now noticing how the ebb, the flow, the dynamics of the relationship interact with each other. And I'll explain to you why this is so important to understand as it relates to changing how the relationship dynamics play out. First, you got to know how they're playing out. And then to be able to understand, we can talk about how that changes. So when do you express your frustration with your wife being so lenient? How does the child respond when you, and let's say the example is when she's being too lenient, this is what I do. I come in and I lay down the laws. Well, then how does your child respond when you come in and ground them anyway because you believe that your wife is being too lenient? How does your child react? How does your child respond when you react because your wife is too lenient? How does your child respond when you react because your wife is too lenient? That reaction may be, again, I'm the one that punishes them. But another good question, I'm going to end on this one, is how does the child respond when you and your wife have conflict over parenting styles? And there are a myriad of other questions that I could share, but I just wanted to kind of get your mind thinking. So we're not looking, we got the factual stuff. And this is where couples get into, and people in relationship conflict really get bogged down. They get bogged down in what the person said and how each person was wrong, rather than really gaining an understanding of how the relationship is flowing and the part that each person is playing in the relationship dynamic. Again, change one simple variable and the whole thing changes. Change one. And this is another thing that happens with people a lot of times. Everything becomes a moral issue. Well, I'm not going to just sit up there and let her spoil the kids. Yeah, I have to stand up there and put my foot down. I'm the man of this house. And when I say jump, somebody ought to be saying how high, all of those things. No. Pump the brakes, back it up, back it up. And let's start to look at how the relationship unfolds. And this is the great thing. As we begin to talk about process, it then helps us to figure out what we need to change in order to change the entire dynamic. Just one little simple thing. If the father says, you know what, I'm not going to intervene. I'm going to let the mother and the child work out that particular disciplinary issue. And I will address disciplinary issues that come my way. That changes the whole dynamic. Just that one little action. Another little action may just simply be, I'm not going to address this in front of the child. I'll wait until I have an opportunity to talk to the mother one-on-one. And I'm not saying that any one of these are the correct way. I'm not subscribing to any one of them right now. We may talk about how it should be done. But at least you're seeing that I'm making one small change. And that small change, as you can already see, will change the entire dynamic of the relationship. See, process lets us see how the entire system is functioning. It helps us to eliminate the blame game because we're able to see that all of us are playing a part in the dynamic of the relationship, especially the family relationship. So it's no longer a blame game. I'm realizing that by either being quiet or becoming angry or intervening, whatever, I'm playing a part. So it's no longer a blame game because guess what? We all in this thing. Everyone is playing a part in this system. And guess what? Serenity Prayer 2.0. Lord, grant me the serenity to accept that I cannot change other people. Courage to change the only person that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Process is learning to focus on what I am doing and how others are responding, and what others are doing and how I'm responding, so that I can begin to change and to influence the most important variable in the equation, the variable called me. And when we learn to focus on the part that we play and becoming more mature in the part that we play, man, we can change the entire equation and we can unbox the power and the potential of all relationships. Hey, listen, do me a favor. I want you to like, I want you to subscribe, I want you to share. And then I'd like for you to look at the description and see how you would like to support what UnBoxed is doing. And you'll see a lot of wonderful things that UnBoxed is doing in the community as well. We would love to partner with you and to figure out how we can make our community stronger, make our family stronger. Man, if we're going to do it, we might as well make the whole world stronger. How about that? I look forward to seeing you again on Sunday. when we'll be looking at church stuff Sunday. We got a very exciting a show lined up for you this Sunday, so don't you miss it. Until then, you take care.
Seasoned with Grace, Unboxed also provides healthy relationship training and leadership development for businesses, churches, and community organizations. For a free consultation to discuss your team's needs, please contact us at our website at swg-unboxed.org. That's swg-unboxed.org.